Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each episode, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and just gets real. Today, I'd like to welcome my friend Joel Ong. Joel, how are you today?
Awesome, awesome, Lee. Yeah, it's great to have you.
Well, thank you. Well, thanks for taking the time out of us. And where are you located?
I'm based in Singapore,
Okay, cool. So it's
and
like tomorrow.
yeah, and
Jeez.
it's actually quite appropriate for the podcast name because it's actually really after dark here.
It's like, what is it, like 3 in the morning or something?
Slightly past midnight.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not too bad. But still, thank you
Yeah,
for staying up for that. I really appreciate that, man.
you're
Now
welcome.
the rules are simple. For the next 20 minutes, we can talk about anything you want, but your business. After that, you got 5 minutes to pitch up a storm. But if you mention your business during the actual interview, you'll lose a minute of pitch time for each infraction. Blah blah blah. So, you ready to play?
I'm awesome. You're ready.
All right, my friend. All right, we got the timer going. And what are we getting into for the next 20 minutes?
So I really wanted to talk about traveling and specifically I think adventure traveling. I think I talked to you about this last time about an experience I had in Croatia,
Mm-hmm.
where I picked up and learned Croatian, believe it or not, and that got me into a wedding actually, and they became my god family afterwards. So I have a like Eastern European long distance kind of like family that I just met by chance really while I was traveling. But I also wanted to bring in an experience I had that I just got back from a few days ago. So I was in Indonesia actually on a hiking trip, and what happened was I did something pretty I would say out of the blue. Really, it's really far away from civilization. I would say, where we went to the sulfur mines in this place called Ijen. It's east of Java, which is an island in Indonesia,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wanted to take this opportunity to share my experiences while I was there because I didn't expect myself to be capturing the story of how these sulfur miners work, but it really broke my heart while I was there. So clearly, I look like a young, fit guy. I mean, I exercise all the time and I'm pretty fit. But after that whole trek, I was exhausted. I mean, I'm still trying to recover this past couple of days really from the trip. And to imagine and think that these guys are doing it every single day. So just to give an idea to the audience of what the trek was like, I probably would send you some photos or videos afterwards of that we maybe might stitch it in and stuff like that to give people a visual idea. But it's about a 16 kilometer or 10-mile hike both ways from the start, where you can park your cars at the car park, all the way to the sulfur creators, and it's not a straight line, so you gotta like climb up a vertical slope. It's almost like a meter incline, and it's really steep, and the ground is just all soil and everything. So you could miss your footing every time and slip and fall, and have to
Mm.
make up for lost footsteps. And then once you get to the top, you're not there yet. You gotta circle around the crater, and so these miners they are doing that in the middle of the night. So, we would get up at like 1 or 2 a.m. We would trek through the night, reach the crater in the morning, and they are already working. It's insane. Um, and these guys, from what I hear, the first time I met my guide, so my guide is actually a miner, an old miner. So he's been doing it for about 4 years, and it's called Mehidi. Um, and he got out of it thankfully because of tourism. So he became a guide because he could speak decent English. Not very good, but decent. Because they speak Bahasa like similar to Malay, but Indonesian really. So I did some research beforehand. BBC, Lonely Planet, CNA, they covered a documentary on the place. And I watched it beforehand, but it didn't capture the full gravity of the situation and how tough it is that's actually there. Like, I don't think any camera would be able to replicate that same kind of experience unless you went through it yourself. But really, the experience was like, the first time he met me, he said, first thing he did was pull down his shoulder and show us the scars, the bruises. It looks like, when you get a fall on your knee and then the skin heals back and then it's a different shade, different color, different texture, and it's shiny, sort of skin, and it's the whole patch on his shoulder that is just like that, but it's over and over again. You could see like the years of wear and tear, really. And he said that those were scars from him carrying, sulfur on his backs. So what they would do would be, how like the coolie workers used to carry jugs of water on their back with a wooden plank on both sides.
Right.
Instead of having water, they would have sulfur in them, and they had to balance it right. And they would use a bamboo plank because it bends and it doesn't break, right? So kind of how like their mindset or their willpower, really. It is a good metaphor, but they would carry these things, and it's about 100 kilograms, or I think in pounds it's about, what is it, like 80 pounds maybe, I think, something like that.
Mhm.
It's pretty heavy. It's like the weight of a full grown man, really. So sorry. So what happens is that these guys would carry it for 10-mile hikes both ways, and they would do about twice a day kind of trips, and they would do it in the middle of the night. And the problem with that is that they gotta get through this huge rock face before they get out of the crater, and this rock face is precarious. Like, I was just carrying my camera equipment, which barely weighs anything, and I was struggling to keep my balance, and all I could see was just this pitch black image in front of me, and I didn't know what was below. Like, it's so dark in the middle of the night, and all we had was like our torchlights or our headlamps, and we could barely see in the distance. But in the morning, what we realized was that it was easily like a 50-meter, kind of 100-meter kind of fall off rock face cliff, where like just one step you would die. And so imagine these miners, they are carrying this weight, and I've carried similar kinds of weight in the gym, and it's hard to keep my balance. So in fact, actually, when we were climbing up initially, we saw 4 miners carrying an unconscious miner down, and they were rushing him to the entrance. So either he fainted because of exhaustion, or he actually fell off the cliff, and now he's injured. And it's really real when you see that for yourself, as you're climbing up and they're rushing the guy down. And what's even more ridiculous is that these guys are earning less than a dollar USD a day for the amount of work that they're doing.
It's
It's
amazing, yeah. And I just looked it up for us Americans who are still using that weird imperial system that nobody else likes. That's like 220 pounds. So like that's a large person. So that's what they're carrying down this cliff essentially, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I mean, the views are amazing. It's insane because you get to see the only blue fires in the world. So there is literally blue flames that you see. I've never seen it before live in person, but it's really, the sulfur that's coming out of the ground that's combusting with the air. I'm not sure the chemistry behind what that happens, but it only happens in the nighttime, and when the sun rises, it's gone, so you couldn't see anymore. But all you have left is just smoke. And what happens is that these miners, they typically don't live longer than 45 years old.
Hmm. Okay.
Because of the smoke inhalation from the sulfur. Um, it's about like 50 times the safety standard or something like that on the documentary. So it's ridiculous because I'm there and I'm wearing gas masks, the ones that you see in Chernobyl and stuff like that,
Hmm.
the actual gas
Well,
masks, the 3M ones, and I could still breathe the sulfur through the mask. And I was coughing even in the smoke because the smoke is unpredictable. It just comes and goes. It damages all your camera equipment. It damages everything, literally. And what I see is them having a house right next to the sulfur. So they're living right next to it, and it's almost impossible to escape it. Really, these guys don't even wear masks. And so, my guy was climbing and then he's chronically coughing all the time, even though he's fit as heck. These guys are carrying 220-pound loads, and they're walking faster than us. Up and down. And they even have this, what we call, like, they call it taxi services, quote unquote taxi, where they have these rickshaws that you could sit and they would push you up the hill for a fee,
Human powered.
which is, yeah, human powered.
Human powered rickshaws. Okay.
On steep, a meter incline cliffs.
Why would you do that to somebody? I don't know.
It's insane, and I think you can get to pay like, I think, $30 or something, and they just carry you up all the way. And these guys are struggling, all the way up and down. It's like horsepower, but human power. It's brutal. I mean, I can't imagine the kind of lives they were living. And so tourism did a big job and help for them, because just with that fee alone, them pushing a human up is, a couple of weeks' pay worth to them, as opposed to them carrying the work. So they, if they get out, my guy was just patting me on the back. He was just really relieved, because I was asking him about his story, how he actually got out of the, his work life, as a miner, and he's really relieved because he actually got to be a guide, and that actually saved his life literally, because he wouldn't have to die so early because of smoke inhalation all the time. So it's incredible. It's the first time I've ever seen such hardships like that. I mean, I've seen other stuff, but that is one of the top for me. Partly also because of the sulfur. I mean, I still can smell it in my nails right now. It's still there after a couple of days and stuff. And really, what gives the perspective shift for me when I was traveling was that these guys are so incredibly happy. Like, to give you a perspective, they're just walking, for instance, right? My guy would rush up to another miner and just try to trip his leg. The kind of things that guys or boys do.
Right.
Playfully kind of like trip each other, or chat and say hi and stuff like that. And he would even help the guys who were pushing the rickshaws up. He would run up and push his back and give him a boost up the hill when they're trying to carry a customer up, stuff like that. And they're incredibly, incredibly happy. So it really puts a perspective shift for me, because how much do you need? If these people are living these kind of conditions, what am I actually complaining about every single day? It's trivial compared to that. And strangely enough, that flicked the switch in me. It stopped becoming about myself, but really, I want to understand this guy's life. I want to understand my guy's life, like, how he's like. And if I had the opportunity to do so, I would capture that story for him, so that if it brings more tourism to the place, if that helps more miners, then, I think that's a good thing. So I'm not a big fan of advocating for tourist-related activities, but in that situation, I think that it's helpful for more miners to be able to benefit from that. They would even make these little souvenirs of like sulfur. So they would chip sulfur. So some of them would become like craftsmen, and they would make little turtles or the Eiffel Tower sets, and they would sell them. So
literally, you just cannot get away from it.
You just can't.
That's if that's where you're born, then that's your life, and it's astounding, because like now, for people like you and me, we live in the world of the internet where literally anything's possible. I mean, and with a few inclusive figure, and yet, when Netflix freaks out and I have to reset it, that's a problem, right? That's a big thing when your modem goes down and you have to click the reset button and wait for 30 seconds for it to come back up, and we're mad about it. And these people are carrying sulfur up and down a mountain. It's unbelievable. I mean, and that's why I love talking to people like you, because you look beyond, the everyday, the veneer, and you see what's actually there, and it's eye-opening and just absolutely refreshing.
Yeah, which is why I'm a big advocate for sake of it. I mean, not being a tourist and just touring the place or going on those guided tours and stuff like that. But I was on a guided tour because it's dangerous to go on your own. But even then, you want to take the conscious effort to not behave like a typical, you know, take out your phone and just snap and go kind of tourist, but
Mhm.
take a step further to put yourself in the position or the perspective of a local who's living there, whether it be trying to just understand their language, learn their language, trying to eat the same foods they eat,
Mhm.
speak the same way they do, think the same way. That gives you a different, I would say, a different mask to play in. And the beauty of that is when you're traveling, your environment shifts, and it's one of the most powerful factors that I've learned in coaching. Because I've received coaching myself, and my coach always tells us all the time that if you want to change what you're currently living in right now, the best way to do so is to just shift your environment. And the easiest way is just plane tickets are so cheap nowadays. Just go to a place you've never been before. Um, Try to forget about what you're currently doing right now for a couple of days. Just immerse yourself in that new environment and try to almost you could play any person you want, literally any person, because no one knows you. So there's little repercussions, in terms of like people are gonna judge you for who you were per se. So it is almost like a breather, or refresher,
Nice.
so to speak, that allows you to explore a new self, explore a certain way of life, to give you a different perspective on things, and understanding of how diverse people are, how what the range of possibilities that you could be, literally. And so you could take parts that you like and keep, rather I mean keep parts you like and take parts that you don't like away, and integrate it into your personality even further. But I mean it's just a useful skill set, really, in terms of learning empathy as well, because frankly speaking, there I can say honestly that if I've not actually gone through that hike myself, I would not be able to empathize with
That's
the
exactly
lives
right.
that these guys are living.
Yeah.
No way. And it just cost me, it's super cheap to just take a trip there and experience it for myself. So that's one of the big reasons why you can try to think it intellectually what it's like. You could watch as many videos as you want about how, and try to imagine it. And if you have good imagination, you could, but nothing beats the real experience. And so that's just one of the ways that I found that's very enjoyable to travel. I mean, of course, safety is one of the concerns, because I was trekking near volcano craters that are similar to the White Island uh, volcanoes in New Zealand that just erupted out of the blue. Uh, in fact, when I first heard the news, I was still in Indonesia, and just a couple hours ago, I was on a similar crater. you
Oh no.
know, uh,
Wow.
yeah, just staring down the mouth of the volcano, and yeah, it's just a big perspective thing. And every time I travel, I've always get this like same experience. When I don't try to behave like a tourist, when I'm not just there to shop for things, to
Mhm.
buy stuff, to just try to acquire more possessions, but to soak in more experiences, then I
Right.
think how you approach it is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even to check it off the bucket list that it's so common here. Everyone says, "Oh, it's on my bucket list," but it's like it's not something you check off, right? I can tell you, just real quick. I've stood in front of the Roman Colosseum. I could not fully appreciate it because there were like 10,000 other people wandering around, bumping you and, taking the picture,
Chinese.
stepping in front of you and taking you pictures. That doesn't matter. Just all of them, man. It was just a sea of people. And like, to me, if I was going to experience that, I would want to be able to stand there alone in the middle of the thing and just feel what it would have been like it was 3,000 years ago. But you can't. But once you get off that out of that tourist mindset, then you find the real experiences like you did. I mean, uh, they may not be the cushiest experiences. I mean, you could have. There were definitely more relaxing things you could have done, but like that was a life experience. So I applaud you for that. That's absolutely fantastic. Uh, any final words on this part of it before we move on to the business end of things?
um I would say that try to take longer trips. So if you could shift out of where you're living for 3 months and above, I think 3 months is a good time frame to reside in a place to really allow you to start to appreciate and understand what the local culture is. Because I've taken short trips of a week, a couple of days, and stuff like that. I don't think it's sufficient enough time to really fully immerse myself. So if you had the privilege or the luxury of doing so, I would highly recommend it.
To your point about the luxury end of it, I have a feeling that probably that a trip like that would probably, even with airfare from halfway around the world, would probably still come in at less than the last time we went to Vegas. So it's the whole thing, and you can spend an entire probably an entire month getting to know a culture and learning to appreciate it on on what we spend on throwaway vacations. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for this absolutely fresh and sobering perspective. It's something that obviously I had no idea, and you went and experienced it firsthand. So I
You're
applaud you
welcome.
and
Yeah,
thank
I
you
had
for
no
sharing
idea
that.
too. I had no idea too. Just saying, I had no
That's
idea too.
so
So
cool.
yeah.
So you have completed the 20-minute Lee After Dark not talking about your business challenge.
Oh,
So yay
wonderful. Yeah.
and invisible confetti and all that. Being that I'm a man of my word, I want to make sure you have 5 minutes to talk about your business, how people can get in touch with you. If you've got an offer to share, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, so what we do at our firm is that we create videos that are story driven, that really speaks to your business's message, story, the essence of it, the most important parts of it, really. And we help you to capture that in video format so that it lasts forever, and to share it, and so that you can take a stand so that other people could see you for what you are, why you do it, what you stand for, and unite to your cause, because I think that's important. Every business is unique. Every business has something that stands out on its own, and so that will really help you to unlock this switch to move the needle, so to speak. Because then you stop competing on price, you stop competing on product benefits, features, stuff like that. And you really get down to the core important parts of why you do what you do. And so we do this not only just through the production part of it, but also the implementation afterwards. The problem is that a lot of production companies just finish the video and they just walk their hands away clean, and you're not going to get a lot of value out of it. So we do all the strategy and planning behind what happens afterwards as well, so they can get the most value out of it. So essentially, in a nutshell, that's what we do. We solve your time, your money, and your relationship with your customers, the three biggest problems that every business faces. And you can find me at my LinkedIn as well. I think it's Joel Ong Video. You can find it at tipyourtime.com, TAPEYOURTIME.com. Or also get my free book, videothatsell.com, so that's easy to remember. Or I have even have a podcast that Lee is on. If you want to hear about his story as well, it's called Entrepreneurs Tribe Podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all the 10 different platforms on Anchor. So yeah, this is in a nutshell what I do.
Awesome. We will have all those links in the show notes as well, so you'll be able to go directly check out more about Joel, what he does, and get in touch with him. So, any parting thoughts?
Travel to Asia. It's cheap.
Travel to Asia. You know what? That's been a dream of mine, but it's in the same way that you're talking about. If I'm going to spend that many hours locked in a big metal tube in the sky, okay, I want to stay there for a while. I want to get to know the people, and I think it'll be a fabulous time. But I got to talk my wife into it. We're getting there. So really cool. Well, Joel, thank you so much for coming on the show and again sharing your experience. And thank you guys out here who are running your internet businesses and your modem glitches. Quit your bitching. It's not that big of a deal. All right. We are out of time, but If you found Lee After Dark more entertaining and relevant than most of the dreck out there, subscribe to the Lee After Dark YouTube channel and now get Lee After Dark in your pants. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Stitcher, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and who the heck knows where else, so you can enjoy us wherever you stick your phone. Until next time, this is Lee Rowley with my good friend Joel Ong. Be present and be well.